Hey, welcome to the Dream Labs at Dr. Contrast Live. I hope everything's doing well. I just thought I'd take a moment here and give you a little bit of a prep here. If you notice that today's subject matter is kind of an interesting one. 1950 Ferrari 250 GTO, a GT rather, Berlinetta series. And I think this is one of the very rare SWIBs, short wheelbase systems. So very delicate set of surfaces to work with here today, and I just thought we'd take a moment and if you notice I started the line drawing ahead of time and filled in some of the pieces that were just high contrast areas to kind of get things started and move it along quickly here throughout the course of the presentation today. But this is a very interesting machine because it really kind of represented the golden era of Ferrari's handcrafted material work back in the early 50s. For example, GTs, GTOs, some of the Berlinettas, California Spiders. Really interesting set of lineups here coming out of this old family of forms from Maranello in 1950. So I'm going to take my time here today, and I think just very subtly try to keep it as graphic as I possibly can, not to fussy things up a little bit. It's a very simple surface, as you can tell, very round and very voluptuous set of surfaces, so it doesn't take an awful lot of fuss to kind of put the surface work together. I just thought we'd take our time and slowly show you how to develop round surfaces and how to work with some pastels and marker and a little bit of light source involved in how to put these shapes together and kind of output. So I'm going to start here very quickly with some like a Copic marker. Just start with a number, go from light to dark on this thing. Just start tuning in some surfaces so we can see where we're at with this guy. So let's kind of put these pieces together here. I'm going to slowly build this guy just a bit here. Let's see what we got here. Slowly build it up. Go to a silver machine. A little bit of reflective work in there. Take around the wheel envelope. Bring it into this piece here. Take it right on through the form. It's going to delicately go through this shape here. There it is. Around the blister. Simple and easy. Not a lot of complicated surface work here to deal with, but again, very delicate because you don't want to overkill it in terms of too much information, too much overkill. Come back in and I'm going to slowly tinting these surfaces first and taking on through up into the fender upper. Very generous, just kind of run real long sweeps. Take it into the quarter panel here. Kick it into that little area there. Bring it on through. Slowly but surely, just build it up. Reflective change in there through that core line. And I come back in the bar side fender. Just gonna get this guy rolling through here as well. Very delicate. Come underneath. Into the hood surface. Very interesting thing to notice at Ferrari, they never really kind of blunted into the actual grill shell itself. They always rolled it in, kind of a nice little return surface to it, give a little more organic flavor to it. Just got to get some of these little futzy areas in place here. Let's take that on through. Get shadow line in here. Let's break this just a bit here. Again, bring it back down into this lower upper. And then through. And underneath, just enough there. Just going to clean this up just a bit here. Get inside this guy, a little bit of that lamp detail right in through here. And notice, very simple shapes. Not a lot of fill in here. I'm going to keep it pretty well graphic and open. So I start with a number 1. I'm going to go down the line here with number 3 gray. Get some of the core systems to work with here. Let's kind of get this guy where that shape rolls over into the hood itself. Just going to bring this into play a little bit. Take that through. And same thing in through here. Again. Around that hood. Go around the hood scoop. highlight line. And again, just inside this little radius here, rolling away from the light source, just kind of take it in and lose it. And lose it. And again, back and through here. Now let's go down here. We got number 2 gray and see what happens with this thing here. Is a 3. Let's go back to this number 2 here. Blend this just a bit. That's better. More core in here before it's adding a little bit of pastel to kind of soften and integrate some of the shapes together here. Let's get the core system in here. Some of that little reflective change in here, back in through here. Some of the headline graphics put together here. Let's get that started. Let's put more depth in this thing too. Let's kind of bring this in just a little bit more shoulder to it. Capture a little bit of that highlight where that radius is. Into the hood graphic here. And just a touch more inside here, just a little stronger in through there, and a little bit more in here, and up into that fender upper. Go back to number 1, gray here, you get that upper portion of that fender. Put that into play lightly. There we go. A little more contour up on top here in the upper. Some of that reflected light back in through here, up into that shoulder, into the rear 3/4. And there it is. So it's kind of slowly bringing it in here, getting some of the surface work to take care of itself. Now, I put a bit of high contrast in here. Let's get some of this stuff going now. These intake pieces down below here. As stated in the very beginning of the presentation here, just really subtle forms here. There's not a lot of drama in terms of what we're looking at. Just really simple shapes to work with here. But again, elegant and timely. So let's see, we kind of just keep it nice and simple. Just do a little bit of graphics in this thing here. That intake to read. And we'll slowly but surely build this surface up just one step at a time here, nice and easy. Now let's get back in here. Some of the graphics on the chrome. A little lighting down below here. A running lamp, that taken care of. At least it started now. Pardon me. Now we're at it here. Let's kind of put some rim definition here, some smoke definition. Taking our time, just nice and blocking it in. Got all set there. Oh, hood insert. This in place. Hood scoop. That. Comb around the headlamp bezels. Slowly but surely build this guy up. Some little detail work. We'll hit some of the larger surfaces here as we kind of go through the process here. Trying not to move too much of the paper around to keep it nice and consistent. That side, kind of fill in a gap as we go here. Fill in some of the gaps here, get some of the grays and some of the tones in place. That. So a little more tone inside this little return here. And the same thing on this side, just a touch more, a little more depth inside that radius. There we are. So back in and get a little bit lighter reflection across this hood surface. Little by little, nice and easy. Let's just kind of get this guy where the shadow side is. It's going to bring this up to speed just a bit more. A little deeper there, I think. Maybe a number 6 gray. Pick up some of that reflection underneath. And with this, touch more of that in a little headlamp graphic. Trying to keep it very graphic, just very, very subtle. At the same time, have a lot of impact in terms of showing what the shapes are doing here. It's very easy to do. Not easy to do, but simplify it. Best way to describe it is just to keep simplifying it. Get the shapes down, and let it go with that. Let's get this plate in place here. We have that. Rest of that set up in a moment here. Now, put a little graphics in this guy here. Hey, Demetrius, how are you, man? Good to see you. Crackle, crackle, how you doing? How do you make it so the marker doesn't come out with a lot of streaks? I just keep building layers up. Rachel, sorry for missing your comment here. Demetrius, good to have you on board. Rachel, good to see you. Hope all is well. It's interesting. It's a very delicate process to deal with because to keep it from streaking, I keep building things up. For example, I'll show you in a moment here, Rachel, what I mean by that. I start with one pass, I'll come back over it again. Just keep building layers up so it doesn't become linear. So let me get back to this for a moment here, and let's get the graphics set up here. And as stated, as the beginning of the program, this is a very delicate 250 GT, a very simple series of forms. There's not a lot of impact in these guys. I want to keep it nice and graphic and simple, not too cluttered, but just go through some processing and getting marker, pastel, and some pen work down, and keeping a nice, simple, generous shape in a completed form study here. Again, not a lot of fuss. It's a beautiful body form. Doesn't need much more than that to begin with. Let's get the graphics in place here. And as stated in the beginning, I started the line drawing ahead to kind of get some of the block shapes in place, so we're not taking a lot of time up going through that process here. Just to get a good jump start on it. You get a lot of the delicate work. Saving for the stream to show you how all it comes together. I hope that answered your question, Rachel, about how to keep the marker from streaking, and I'll show you in a moment what I mean by that. So bear with me. I just want to get this this numerical designation in place. And a little element of surprise to add some color to this thing. It's just kind of fun to deal with. Which Ferrari was noticeably famous for. Simple shape and just a little touch of some graphics on it to give it a little bit of embellishment. So there's that guy down. Now let's get this guy down. Turn this aside just for a moment here. Get this number to balance out just a bit. So I'm not working against the grain. A bit of time. Take your time. Get it in place. And embellish it. All right, so there we are. Now let's put a little bit of coup de grace on this thing here. Have a little bit of fun with it. Turn this aside again for a moment here. Hey, Chip, how you doing? Doing speed on paper, I see. Yeah, I'm trying there, Chip. Good to have you on board, man. How have you been? Let me just kind of block this in, and we'll get right back with you here. Let's run that right through. Little Ferrari Berlinetta 250 GT. Notice how that transparency took that highlight right through there. One thing about laying down the basic surface work first, then coming back in and laying in some of the graphics. Bring it up to speed a little bit. There we are. Come around the bend again one more time. See what I'm doing here, Rachel? Layering it in, letting it dry, come back in, layer it again. Keep a nice, solid surface to work with here. Hope that helps. Gotta put the thing together here for you. Now let's go back in through here. Same thing with the designation of the numerical number 17 here. And again, one more time. Let me stop there for a moment. Just making sense, gang? Doing good, Doc. I'm doing well, thanks, Chip. And I'm glad you enjoyed. I've been missing you the last couple of runs. I'm sure you've been pretty busy, but Thanks for taking the time to join us today. And before, let me go back and just review a little bit here. I thought today we kind of pull back a little bit. We've done a lot of instructional stuff, done in proportion for vehicle design and like that. That we just kind of slow it all down and go through an illustration process here today with some multimedia. And again, Rachel, let me know if this is helping you at all in terms of learning how to saturate and keeping the streaks away from the actual illustration. You go back in, you really block in a lot, and you overlay it, and just keep working on it until it kind of smooth itself out. Almost like a painting process, in essence, what it is. So let's go back to here, and just go back here for a moment, and fill in some of the graphics. Let's go back and get this guy lined up now, up on the hood surface. And again, if you notice it or not, but that little touch right in through here, where the underbody of the actual sheet metal and the color over the top, it gives you a little more transparency or lucidity in there, and kind of more believability to the. Oh, let's do this. Well, I've got that thing out that nib for me. Let's get that little Ferrari emblem here. Start that. Let's take this into the lamping graphic. Take a bit of that in the reflection. And again, same thing over here. And a little bit of reflection into the lens itself. Down below, down below. Let's get back to basics here. Simple form, very easy, not a lot of push. It's being very delicate with some very simple, but yet beautifully simple, subtle surfaces to work with here. Turn this upside down for a moment to get that circle straightened out. There it is. And there it is. You notice a little bit of an offset here. You notice that little, it's just this hood scoop comes down, forms a little bit of a cavity, brings it right back in. Yeah, very, very good, Rachel. I'm glad that does help you a little bit here. So let's let that set up a little bit here. And let me come back in and just kind of tune in just a touch more here. We're going to go back in. Let's see what about a number 3 gray would do here. A little bit more content up on top here. So I'm just keeping it really delicate and just working the surfaces into areas where it needs a little bit more depth to it. Let's take that through, bring it back over the top of the fender line just a bit, return it. That's that. Into that. Now let's go back in here and get these rims kind of squared away here. A lighter tone here. Back to about a number 1 gray. Get the upper piece in here. Hope this is coming together for you guys. Not a lot of, just not a lot of fuss. It's just a very simple set of circumstances, but boy, I mean, just a delicate form to deal with here. A little more pass through here. See what I'm doing here, Rachel? Just putting a lot of pressure on the nib to get that thing to be much more transparent and smoothing it out. Over the top, back in again. What's coming is that little bit of a filler with pastel. It kind of takes some of the curse off of some of the marker work, but there it is. I mean, that's starting to come together pretty nicely. I mean, I keep it that simple and that graphic. If when you saturate the paper too much, could the paper? No, not really. This is kind of a neat material. I think the nib system alone works pretty nicely with that altogether there. So I don't think that's a problem at all, Demetrius. I just go ahead and really kind of press in and get those surfaces to work for you quite a bit, and really kind of rely on the fact that it's going to be okay. It's going to get a little bit of shadow on this thing. Let's take it down a little further. Too deep. So I'm looking for number 4 here. There it is. A little more shadow. There it is. That's better. Take that rid of that valley. Back out again. Back out again. For the core of that highlight. There it is there. And one more passing through here. Just a little more definition. There it is there. Just trying to catch it where that thing rolls over and picks itself up on the actual stud. And let's get back this in this place here. Let's get a little more surface into this, more shadow into that. There it is. Some of that valley to work for. So deep in through here, it's going to kind of combine this in here. Let's put it in that same corner underneath here. Just give a little more shadow to it. There it is. That's better as it rolls underneath that foot form. So there we are, just slowly but surely getting there. Let's add a little bit of color here. Now let's do this. A little more depth inside that rim. Here, let's take a look at this guy. Let's get that steering wheel in place. The old wood grain special. Put a little bit of tone inside that. Let's get this kind of shadowed back just a bit here. And let's get this little scoop to kind of work with this here. Rocker silver deal a little bit here. Simple. Keeping it simple. Now that's just about how far as I want to take the actual marker study itself. So let me stop right there, guys. What do you think? Is it really all right here? I mean, look how delicate that is. A light source coming in from over here. A lot of highlight over the radius, into the hood, back away from the rollaway. And then this is where it gets a little touchy in through here, because that surface is rolling back inside itself. And so you put a little more tone to it, and that should do it right there. So let's see, epic. Now it's interesting. It's a simple graphic study here, guys. And I think I don't want to go any further than trying to destroy the fact that it's a very simple shape to work with. Just gotta keep it nice and easy, nice and graphic. Doesn't need a lot of fuss. The shape itself is absolutely gorgeous. We'll just keep it nice and together. Okay, let's go back here, maybe just a touch more at the top here. More definition. There it is. More definition inside that rim. Inside that header just a little bit. Let's see if we can get ourselves about a number, just a little bit more rollover on that upper. That's a little cleaner. There it is. And one more pattern. Let's get that yellow to kind of scream a little bit here for us. Over the top of that hood graphic. Let's put a lot of color in through here. Let's kind of saturate one more time. Put that glass to work here. With the top of that shoulder. And again, into the body form. Yeah. All right. That should do it as far as marker study is concerned. I mean, not an awful lot there, gang, I realize, but still, I mean, it just does it does the job in terms of getting them formed together, keeping it simple, very graphic, not a lot of fuss. What is that little spot of light on the front bumper? A little spot of light. This guy here? Is that what you're referring to? That's just reflected light coming off the actual form itself, Demetrius. And what I want to do is use that as a springboard here to kind of come back in and kind of pull that back just a bit. Tone that in just a bit. Then bring that back into play. There it is. That's the actual license plate frame. And what happened is this. Come back in. Let's put a little bit of definition to it. The plate frame is there and there. And just a little bit more, just a touch more inside this little lighting underneath there. Just gotta take some of the curse off of that. There you go. And there we go. One more pass underneath through here. Very lucid, just nice and easy. Some of the surfaces, there it is. All right, let me see. Yes, got it. Okay, we got another question. Chip, yes, I need more pink fuzzy dice. we can put that in there. Very interesting, Chip. Leave it to you. That's cool. So let's go back a little bit of definition inside this thing now. Oh, I missed a little bit of a tone change. Let's get rid of this guy. This will work a little bit better. There it is. And that core bit a little bit better. Take that highlight right on through and lose it. There you go. A little more surface definition. Now the real delicate part's coming up here, and I want to be very careful to do this so it doesn't become overwhelming to us. Sometimes just getting metallic surfaces down, that's one thing, but again, really looking at how this whole thing comes together. Before I finish up here, I just want to take one more pass at this little hood, this little breather to kind of read a little bit more for us here. That's better. Under the rocker. And a little bit of that underskirt right in there. There it is. So now, very delicately, we're going to add a little bit of mix here, a little bit of softness into it, kind of take it back just a bit here. But I think that kind of tells a story about where we want to be with this thing. And for what it's worth, let's try this first. Let's just see what this does. Let's get a little reflected light sky tone in this thing first here. That's it. Bit of that in there, a little bit of brightness in here, a little bit of that inside the rim. Not a lot, just enough to kind of, again, keep it sneaky. There it is. That's that. Just adding a little bit more color to it here, so it kind of gives it needs more pink fun. Yeah, that's funny, Chip. Very good. So let me come back here. The real secret formula. Let's get this guy to mix just a bit right here. Come back in. Put a little bit of this into it. A bit of dry pastel to kind of blend some of these shapes together here. That's that. That, and then just a touch of this, a little bit of sky in it. Blend the two together. Blend the two together. And voila, there you go. I mean, there it is. How subtle that is. Making sense, gang? And I can go back and push a little bit more gray in here to kind of get that surface to read for me just a touch more. Not too much, just enough to kind of give me a little bit of indication here. There it is. A bit of build up in there. And the beauty of that is I can come right back in and pick up a lot of reflection just coming back with an eraser and sculpting in some of those shapes. A little more believability. Look at that. Into that highlight right there. And how those two things work together. Just a real simple harmony. Very subtle, but at the same time, doing the job. I think that's the thing we're after here. What do you think, gang? That just about wrap it up, you think? Making sense? Doesn't take an awful lot to get this surface done here. I'm not really trying to push too hard here. I think that's a little bit of glass work here. It's got a more reflective quality in that glass. Just see if we can kind of pull this in. Just maybe one more pass over here. Black that back. Get back to an eraser, and that's it. I mean, very direct. I don't want to overkill it or keep it nice and graphic. Very simple, and that's it. So there it is. It's basically the thrust of that form right there. It's a dramatic shape to work with, and I think that's one of the nice things about this whole process here. So let me just take a moment here. Let me back and do a little drawing work here. I'm going to tighten up some of this thing. Let's get some of the graphics to work here. Let's come across the hood. Let's get that cut line to work. And the hood release. Let's get some of this kind of that disappears behind the form here. That does that. Now this will come in here, and we'll pick up some of that same shoulder. Let me turn this around here for a second here, folks. Kind of get this door cut line to work over here. Very classic shape. Doesn't need a lot of fuss. Pardon me again as I move this upside down here. There's the door cut. In that body form. More definition through here, just a touch. But there's a scoop there. That's all it takes. Draw it back in. That, and let's get a little highlight coming through the actual core of the form here itself, so it just kind of breaks that shape up just a little bit more. There we are. A little more highlight. Wow, there it is. I know, wow, like, geez, pardon me. It's just fun to work with this stuff and see how it all comes together. And I think that just about wraps it up here as far as shape is concerned. Let's put a bit of highlight back in through here just to kind of give a little more zing to it. Take some of the curse off of that all black. Same thing in here. Just real subtle forms here. Rampante. That's kind of a little bit of shadow drop underneath the emblem itself. Again, very delicate. Hood line. Far side fender. A little bit of drawing back in. A And I think that should just about get her wrapped up here. Unless you're seeing something you'd like to kind of add to it or move into it just a little bit. But there it is. I think just a good simple graphic exercise today about taking the time to take a line drawing and slowly but surely, oh, there's one thing missing here, pardon me, it's got this little elevation here to kind of cool back just a bit. There it is. Take some of the curse off of that and a little bit of highlight underneath that roll. There it is, right about there. Take me right into that area. Cool. So get this brush out here. So again, from all the exercises we've done over the course of time here, getting into things like that last go around with the three-piece presentation on proportion, that'd be nice to kind of go back to a simple line drawing study here and just bring this up to speed and put it on there. I'm going to add anything on the horizon line to keep it. I'm going to keep it just like this. I think just as a simple study here. I might come back in maybe between now and next Tuesday, add a little bit of 250 GT or some sort of nomenclature to it at all. But I'm going to just keep it clean, Demetrius. What do you think? Does that pass the test here, you think? So far, so good? Yeah, if I do anything at all, I might just add something like 250 GT up on top here. And if I go that route, I'll be sure to bring that back up in speed here when it comes together on Tuesday of next week. So let me just do this. Grab this guy here for a moment, and where am I? 55. Let's see. Very good. Yeah. What do you think, Chip? That pass the test here? I mean, I don't want to get into a lot of pastel washes. I'll just let the form come together, let the shape actually become the storyline here. It's a very interesting line. It's an interesting view. The actual machine itself. I don't want to take away from the actual. Maybe I'll just sign it, and that's about it. So let me just do this. One time I use a straight edge. No, okay. He's gonna. Hope you don't faint, but this is the only time I use a straight edge, so I keep myself in order here. So I'm going to put that in place there. Give me a guideline to work with here. There it looks there. Put that away. I'm right back in and sign this beauty. Get rid of some of the evidence. I'll let you guys be the judge. You think I should add anything else to it? Like I was going to put in the nomenclature 250 GT in the upper corner here, just as a nice little, love the angle also. Yeah, the angle, I mean, that's it. It's more dramatic, I think. The more you, from my point of view, from my perspective, the more I begin to try to add more to it, it's going to take away from the actual form itself. So I think that's a safe bet. I don't mean safe in the sense that you're I'm hesitant to make adjustments, but just safe to keep it simple and then go with that. So what do you think there, gang? Chip, we're looking good. Rachel, you still with us? And I hope that little conversation, if that becomes an issue, this marker use, for example, becomes an issue for you in time to come, Rachel, let me know, and I'll go back through some basic staining exercises to kind of help you through the process so it doesn't get really streaky. And I know exactly what you're referring to. Often that happens when we just kind of lay it on once and just lift our hand up and lay it down again. Doesn't really, I don't think it does either, Chip. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But back to Rachel's commentary about how to keep the marker surfaces clean. The reason that happens, Rachel, very quickly, and I'll demonstrate that maybe come Tuesday. What happens there is that if you get streaks, when all of a sudden you're not conscious of it, but you lay down a line, you lift your hand, and you lay down a line. When I work with markers, for example, and I'll go back into more of this in more detail later on here, I really concentrate on keeping my hand on the paper and never lifting. And I think that gives the consistency and the smoothness of it all. And it just takes care of that streakiness. So I'll go back in again. That sounds good, like one of those. Yeah, let's do that. I think I'll go through some basic formulation stuff maybe on Tuesday, Rachel, about, okay, here's a basic square form. Here's a shear shape. Here's an organic shape. And how to work with your hands and keep the pressure and changing pressure as you go through the whole process and putting it all together. Notice something else. I've got to adjust here, gang. Sorry. Just kind of get that header. That piece back in place here. And one more time. Let's get that highlight on the tire just right. And there, about right there. There you go. That's more better. There it is, gang. Nice and simple. So back to square one again. And I really do appreciate too, for example, Demetrius, Rachel, Chip, If you've got any things you want me to work on, just drop me a note at my email address at jim@drcontrast.com about things that you might be interested in working with or working on, and do the best I can to maybe help you through the process as we go through these programs from Tuesdays and Thursdays. But again, today was just a nice, let's pull it all back a little bit and do a nice little staining exercise. Pardon me. A little bit of staining exercise on how to work with marker, pastel, and just the drawing. To me, folks, I've always said this, and I believe it with all my heart. Drawing is everything. The drawing is the strength of it all. If you have a really good drawing to work with, it's very easy to come back in and treat it with respect and not try to overkill it and overfuss it. And if we have a bad drawing, we try to justify it. And I'm not being critical here, so don't misunderstand the context here. If we have a bad drawing to work with, we'll try to save it with all kinds of media, only to find out that it gets worse. And that's tragedy. You don't want to have that happen at all. Get a good drawing down first, then come back in and really treat it with respect with the media you're dealing with. So, any closing commentary again before we wrap it up here? Again, so appreciate you taking the time to be with me today. Good exercise, a lot of discipline. You have to slow it all down, and I think what's interesting too. Let me close with this commentary as well. Whenever I go through a process like this, I'm always thinking about. I'm thinking about the end's already done. I know the end from the beginning. Does it mean it's going to be perfect or correct? No. But I know what I want to work with here. And as I go through it, I'm just very conscious of step by step by step. So I start, for example, with being very cautious, not cautious from the point of view of being fearful, but just very steady in terms of step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think that's really the interesting thing about the whole process here, about when you do illustration work such as this. Have a good battle plan ready. Make sure you've got the right materials. Have a good line drawing to work with. And always think in terms of what's your image, what's the vision you're after. And if it adjusts a little bit, then work with it. But I think that gives us a good shaping launching point to really work with this thing and to get it done well and to treat it with respect. So what do you think, Rachel? Good? And Demetrius, so far so good? Again, cannot thank you guys enough for joining me today. Really great to have you on board. Maybe we'll start some of those lesson plans on Tuesday. For example, some of the marker technique work. I was going to do some architectural work maybe next week, but we'll see how it goes and see what we come up with as far as content is concerned. So once again, so much appreciate the time spent here today, gang. It's fun to do this work with you all. Thanks for taking the time to be with me. Please visit my website at drcontrast.com. You'll see some interesting things happening there in terms of maybe a good drawing program, 9 lessons that'll kind of help you through the process in some respects. Also, as I stated before, please drop me a note at jim@drcontrast.com. I'd love to hear from you about what you think of the program, what we should be doing, how we'd like to treat certain things in the future. And I'm glad you're here as well, Rachel, so thank you. Keep up the good work. Those last few sketches you were doing and passed on to me look really great. Keep working on that process, and just the more you draw, the more confident you're going to become. And that confidence will lead you to work with great media systems as well. So it all works together. And again, thanks so much for the time today, gang. And I will sign off with this. I think it's absolutely the most critical part of the whole presentation. And that is, never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. All the very best, gang. Take care of yourself, and thank you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday. Hey, let's see where I am at here. Ending. Let me get this there. That's that. Put a little bit of